Guys, how's it going? So in this video we're actually going to be doing Simplicity 1364, which if you haven't watched the fitting video for it, please go ahead and take a moment to watch that. I decided to make this blouse because I just need to fill up my wardrobe with a bunch of basic pieces, so I felt I'd go ahead and tackle this one. Even though it's from the 60s, I normally don't sew from the 60s, so I figured just try something different though. So anyway, in this version I'm wearing view B right now, which is like the short sleeve, but this video is going to focus on view A, which is the long sleeve. So just to kind of show some diversity in that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Cool, so first things first, you want to go ahead and sew up your darts. If you watched my last video about doing a full bust adjustment on this particular top, you know that my dart on this blouse was really large, so I definitely took my time sewing these darts and pressing them, but probably could have done a better job of pressing them. But I mean, at a certain point it was just so much fabric moving around that actually even off camera I went ahead and repressed, but at that point I went ahead and trimmed my dart down just to kind of remove that bulk from the final garment. I left about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch seam allowance on that dart, and then went ahead and matched up my front and back pieces together. We'll just make sure, you know, if you're going to be using a fabric like I did, I used a rayon challis challis. You make sure to use the right sewing needle and the right pins, just so that you don't snag your fabric. Sewing needles and pins are really cheap, and what I do is I just like make a little note on the little box so that I know exactly what fabric to use it on. Because you don't want to ruin your fabric. Alright, so once the front and back are put together, you're going to go ahead and work on the sleeves. So the sleeves are pretty cool on this particular pattern because they do have that elbow dart, which you don't see so often anymore, but it is pretty common if you're doing like a sloper. So yeah, I mean, the sleeve is actually pretty large. If I were to remake this again, I would probably make the sleeves a little bit thinner. I didn't do a muslin on them just because I figured that they were just going to be pretty plain and standard, which they are, but I think next time around I will be looking for a closer fit on the sleeves. I also went ahead and hemmed my sleeves at this stage rather than waiting until they were attached to the bodice, just because I did not want to be trying to hand hem those later on down the road when it is a little bit more difficult to handle so much fabric at the same time. Also gathered up my sleeve heads at this point. I used 2 rows of basting stitch. Gently move those gathers around to make them even, and then I went ahead and just kind of compared them to the bodice on my mannequin to see how they would work. Focus. precioso, hermanita. Sí, sí. Oh, mira, ya que te gusta, mira. ¿Ya te cansaste? No. Okay. Cool, so at that point you are ready to put in your, to set your sleeves into the bodice. You want to make sure to just be really careful about putting everything in. You're going to want your sleeves to be right side out with your bodice inside out, and then also having the notches match up. For me, I went ahead and just removed a portion of my machine so that I would have a little bit more access to sew those sleeves in place. And a little bit of steam after you've clipped your seam allowances at the sleeves, and you can get a nice professional finish. So, you know, this particular pattern calls for a lap zipper, which I definitely took the opportunity to do. Went ahead and put in my interfacing on the wrong side of the back pieces where the zipper was going to go. I used a pressing cloth slash old piece of muslin to put that in place. I also used a zipper that was really long, so I knew I had to shorten that zipper, so I just kind of marked how short I wanted it to be. And then taking a needle and thread, you want to go ahead and sew a bunch of really quick thick line at the bottom just to create a new zipper stop. And then once you have like a really nice stop for the end of the zipper, you're going to want to head and trim your zipper about 1 inch to 1.5 inches below that, and then you're good to go. Cool. So at this point, it's time for the facings. So the facing was actually pretty easy to deal with. I went ahead and actually put it onto the garment in the same way that I did for the Gertie sew along. If you haven't seen that video already, pretty easy and simple way to put it in, and saved me a lot of time. I actually didn't follow the directions in the pattern for this particular step here. I kind of just winged it on my own based on of how I've done it in previous videos. So once you have everything pinned in place, go ahead and stitch that down, clip your notches, turn that inside out with some good pressing, and then you're ready to understitch the seam allowance to the facing, just so that facing doesn't pop out when you're wearing it. And then last but not least, we are on the home stretch. You're going to want to go ahead and turn up the hem of your shirt. And then in this case, I think it was about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches or so. And then you steam it down, some light pressing, and then turn in. And in the end, I hand stitched the hem in place. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope this inspired you to make your own version of this blouse. Would I make it again? Yes, I would do some changes in my next version. For one, I would probably close up the neck a little bit more and then maybe move up the shoulder a touch. But those are really small, minor changes that I can do really fast. So anyway, hope you guys liked it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all the places, all the stuff, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Bye.